Frankfurt not the only club in for a forward. You wrote an article on him for Transfermarkt. Tyler Dibling from Southampton, 18-year-old right winger, but I think he can play several positions across the front line there. He can also play on the left, can also play as number 10. He is heavily linked with a move to RB Leipzig. I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard a ton about him yet. It's name recognition only for me. I looked up his agency though. He's with Roof. That's Kai Havertz's agency. There's a certain Ademola Lookman with them as well. Serge Gnabry, Malik Tillman, just to name a few, and also Saber Schlager. So this is an agency that RB Leipzig is familiar with. So it wouldn't surprise me that this player is someone that they have on their radar.
Yeah, Tyler Dibling's probably one of the most exciting prospects in English football this season, at least the Premier League. So, I mean, Southampton have been absolutely pants this year. I think they've got 1 win and 3 draws out of 22 league games. And, you know, I actually wrote a profile on him for Transfermarkt late last year, and I updated it this week because of quite a flurry of interest in him. Newcastle and Tottenham are also being heavily linked with him. Another player who kind of briefly played in the Chelsea youth ranks as well. Yeah, he's a really exciting player. He plays on the right, left-footed. He loves to cut inside. He's a great dribbler with the ball, very fast. But what's really crucial, I think, is that he kind of couples that ability to dribble with the ability to really kind of create chances as well. So he's not like your typical winger who just runs to the byline, swings crosses in. You see it all the time, actually, with a lot of players in the modern game where they're fast, they can beat a man, but they don't really have that end product. And I think with Dibling, he's much more focused on having that end product rather than being too quick or too direct. And in a sense, actually, it kind of reminds me about Jack Grealish a little bit when he was younger, who, you know, he has all the tricks in the book, and he can kind of, you know, keep the defender away from the ball. But it was his kind of end product that made him a great player. I actually had some stats, as you said. I've literally got it in front of me because I wrote the article on it. But, you know, he's 14th among all players in the Premier League for take-ons this season. So, you know, he's completed more dribbles than Martinelli at Arsenal, Luis Diaz at Liverpool, Cole Palmer at Chelsea. He leads Southampton's own charts for dribbles. He averages almost twice as many dribbles than anyone else in that Southampton team. But as I made the point in the article, he's the third highest source of passes into the opposing box for Southampton. And he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's also first for key passes, and he's also fourth for shots on target for Southampton as well. So his stats aren't great. You know, if you look him up on Transfermarkt, I think he's got maybe 2 assists and 1 goal or something in 20 odd league games. But the reason I've kind of rhymed off those underlying stats because I think they hopefully explain what he can do as a player, because he's obviously playing in a very, very limited Southampton team, a team who get basically dropped every weekend, unless they play Manchester United, it would seem. And you know, you have to take that into context when you're talking about attacking players, especially players who create chances first and foremost for their teammates, because striker up front's not doing anything, then, you know, you can create chances all day long and he's not scoring them. You don't get assists, and then all of a sudden people think you're rubbish. He's very raw, very exciting young player. We actually pushed his market value up in Transfermarkt up to 22 million. I think he started the season on 5 million. So he's rising very quickly, and, you know, a lot of Premier League clubs are interested in him. So it'll be interesting to see what Leipzig can do here. I think it was Blettenberg at Sky Sports in Germany saying they're willing to offer 30 million euros for him. It'll be interesting to see if Southampton do take that, because Southampton have a really good reputation in England for getting a lot of money out of players that they sell, and they make a lot of money even when they go down to the Championship. So I don't think Southampton will say, oh, we have to sell this guy before we get relegated and we're suddenly out the limelight. I think they know fine well that Premier League clubs will still be interested in him if they get relegated. So it'll be interesting to see if Leipzig can get their hands on this guy, because I think if they can, he's a superstar in the making, and he plays a position where they desperately need more cover. They just don't have enough wide players, in my opinion. But it's maybe one to keep an eye on. I don't expect anything to happen this month, and if it does, I'd be surprised if Leipzig could be the likes of Tottenham and Newcastle. Although I haven't seen that, both of them are under kind of strict regulations financially, so they might not be able to offer what Leipzig could offer. But yeah, it's one to keep an eye on. But yeah, really exciting player if you're a Leipzig fan.
It's really interesting too because like Southampton is Kloppo's farm team, isn't it? That's where he bought all his best players when he was at Liverpool.
Yeah,
Sadio Mane, Van Dijk. I feel like I'm
so
missing
many.
someone. I feel like I'm missing a couple.
Oh god, who else? Who
It
else did
feels
they
like
sign?
it feels like every time Kloppo needed someone, he just went to Southampton and took him from there.
Yeah, I'm
um,
trying to think. Was it Jordan Henderson as well? Maybe as well. I think.
think so. Yeah.
Can't remember.
There's the site called Transfermarkt that has this data, so we'll
Yeah,
have to
well,
look it up
exactly.
later.
Yeah,
It just came to mind that, we know at least two high-profile players, Sadio Mane and Van Dijk. And in both those cases, and you're right, I mean, the Van Dijk transfer saga took forever, right, until that was finally crossed the line. And Southampton held out for a record transfer fee for a defender at the time. So this is not an easy negotiation partner. So to say. And I mean, fair enough. I mean, if you have an asset that other clubs want and you know that you can squeeze money out of them, you do it. I have an absolute problem with that. And I think you're quite right that RB Leipzig probably, this is the oddity, right? The Premier League teams have so much money to spend, but the financial fair play restrictions that they have, because the salary that they're paying is so high in terms of the revenue that they generate, they're often more restricted these days than German clubs are, because in Germany salaries compared to the revenue is still a lot lower than it is in the Premier League. I think it's 70% paid for salaries in Premier League clubs versus on average versus 56% for Bundesliga clubs. So that's a huge gap, right? So Bundesliga clubs still have a lot more maneuverability when it comes to signing a guy and bringing them in. And it's one of those oddities of the current transfer system that sometimes Bundesliga clubs can outspend Premier League clubs because they just have more financial wiggle room. It's not because they have more money, but they have more financial wiggle room. So it'd be interesting to see if they can get this done. And I mean, it'd be such. I just heard you talk about there, and I'm like, that signing has Jurgen Klopp written all over it, in my opinion.
yeah, maybe. It's a fair shout. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Leipzig can convince him to go there because
Yeah.
obviously Leipzig do a really good job of convincing young players to move to them and say, look, you like Szoboszlai, like Guardiola, like Dani Olmo, you can go play for the club of your dreams if you play for us for a couple of years. When it comes to Tyler Dibling, he's already been linked with those clubs and he's already in England. So, you never know. I mean, that's not to say he can. I mean, obviously, like guys like Jimmy Gittins and players before like Jadon Sancho, of course, and Jude Bellingham all made the move to Germany and did remarkably well. But they all came from youth teams and then went to Germany and did well. Tyler Dibling's already doing it in the Premier League and he's doing it quite well. And I think he's already earned a lot of interest. So I just don't know if the typical kind of Leipzig, story will resonate with them as much. Maybe it will. You never know.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how this one plays out. I still think it's a bit of a long shot they moves to Leipzig, but it's really interesting they're being linked with him.
I think Leipzig needs someone. That's without a doubt. They need probably more than one signing. I mean, they have till, I think the window's open this year till February 2nd or 3rd, because it's like, otherwise it would be on a weekend. And so, FIFA pushed it back into February, which means more days for us to cover this, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure Leipzig will have to do something, and I'm pretty sure they will do something. So it's good that they're being linked to players, and it kind of shows you what they are looking for, right? More creativity in attack. Someone that if Xavi isn't playing well, that they have someone to replace him. So yeah, it's an interesting story and one to keep an eye on.